Rain poured heavily over the small town, washing away the last light of day. On a lonely bench near a closed cafe, a woman sat with her little daughter wrapped in a worn blanket. The woman's eyes were red, tears mixing with the rain. They had nowhere to go. Her husband had abandoned them, and her job at the factory ended just days ago. The little girl, with innocent hope in her eyes, held her mother's trembling hand and whispered, "Don't cry, Mommy. Maybe that man will help us." Her tiny finger pointed toward a tall man in a black coat stepping out of a luxury car nearby. The man was clearly wealthy, his polished shoes gleamed despite the rain, and the car behind him screamed success. But his face carried something unusual, a loneliness hidden behind his expensive life. He glanced at the mother and child, almost looking away, but the girl's gaze stopped him. Her eyes weren't begging, they were filled with trust, as if she already believed he'd help. He took a deep breath, walked closer, and asked gently, "Are you two all right?" The woman tried to smile through tears. "We're fine, sir. Just waiting for the rain to stop," she lied. The millionaire, Ethan, hesitated. He had grown up poor himself but had buried those memories deep beneath years of business and success. Something about the woman's trembling voice brought it all back. The little girl smiled up at him and said softly, "Mommy hasn't eaten all day. I told her you'd help." Her honesty struck him like lightning. The woman quickly scolded her daughter in embarrassment, "Lily, hush." But Ethan only smiled gently, kneeling down so he could look the child in the eye. "Lily, thank you for telling me. Let's get you both something warm to eat." They entered a nearby diner, where the smell of soup and bread filled the air. The woman sat nervously, unsure why this stranger was helping. Ethan ordered food for all three and watched as Lily devoured her meal with delight. The mother only stared at the bowl before her, too ashamed to eat. "Please," Ethan said kindly, "you need it more than anyone." She finally took a spoonful, and tears rolled down her cheeks again. "Thank you, sir. You didn't have to do this." Ethan replied, "Sometimes helping someone is exactly what we have to do." As they talked, Ethan learned their story. The woman, Sarah, had moved to the city for a better life but lost her job when the factory shut down. She'd been sleeping in shelters, struggling to feed her daughter. Ethan felt a pang in his chest. He had once been that child watching his mother fight the world alone. "Do you have anywhere to go tonight?" he asked. Sarah shook her head, trying to stay strong. "We'll manage." Ethan paused, then said quietly, "No, you won't. Come with me. I'll get you both a room for tonight." Sarah hesitated. Years of hardship had taught her not to trust easily. But Lily tugged at her sleeve and said, "Mommy, he's nice. Please." Ethan handed the woman his business card. "You can look me up if you're worried. I just don't want a child sleeping in the cold tonight." After a moment's silence, Sarah nodded. They followed him to a nearby hotel, where he booked a comfortable room. When Lily saw the warm bed, she giggled with joy. "Mommy, it's so soft." For the first time in days, Sarah smiled truly. "Thank you, Mr. Ethan. I don't know how to repay you." Ethan looked at her and said, "You don't owe me anything. Just promise me you'll keep believing in better days." He left the room with a heavy heart. But as he walked out, Lily ran after him, handing him a small, crumpled paper flower. "It's for you. Because you helped Mommy smile." Ethan took it gently, his throat tightening. That night, he couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Sarah and Lily, two lives lost in a world that didn't care. And he wondered why his millions couldn't fix the emptiness he felt. The next morning, Ethan made a decision. He visited the hotel again, surprising Sarah and Lily at breakfast. "I was thinking," he said, "my company could use someone honest and hardworking. Sarah, would you be interested?" She looked at him in disbelief. "You'd really hire me?" He nodded. "You just need a chance, not pity." Tears welled in her eyes again, but this time they were tears of relief. "I won't let you down." Ethan smiled. "I know you won't." Weeks passed. Sarah proved herself to be a diligent worker. She arrived early, stayed late, and earned respect quickly. Lily, now brighter and happier, often visited the office, bringing laughter wherever she went. Ethan found himself drawn to their energy. It reminded him of the simple joys he'd lost chasing wealth. One evening, as they left the office, he offered them a ride home. Lily sat in the back seat humming while Sarah looked out the window, whispering, "I don't know how to thank you enough." Ethan replied softly, "You already have." Over time, Ethan realized he looked forward to seeing them more than anything else. The loneliness he'd felt for years began to fade. One afternoon, Lily ran up to him and said, "Mr. Ethan, can we call you Uncle now?" He laughed warmly. "Of course, you can." Sarah smiled, feeling her heart lighten for the first time in a long while. They had become something like a family, three souls mended by kindness. Months turned into a year. Sarah's life completely changed. She found a small apartment and even started saving money. But tragedy struck again when Sarah fell ill. Hospital bills piled up quickly, threatening to destroy everything she'd rebuilt. Ethan, upon hearing the news, rushed to her side. "You should have told me," he said. Sarah weakly smiled. "I didn't want to be a burden again." Ethan took her hand firmly. "You were never a burden." He covered all her medical expenses and stayed with Lily while Sarah recovered. During that time, Lily told him, "Mommy says you're an angel sent by God." Ethan laughed, but deep down, her words moved him. For once, his money had done something meaningful, not for profit but for love and compassion. When Sarah finally recovered, she said, "You gave us back our lives, Ethan. We'll never forget." Ethan smiled. "No, you gave me back mine. I'd forgotten what it meant to care." From that day forward, their bond deepened. Lily would visit Ethan's mansion every weekend, calling him family. The walls that once echoed with silence now rang with laughter and warmth. Ethan realized that the little girl who had once pointed at him in the rain had pointed him toward his own redemption. Years later, Ethan attended Lily's graduation. She stood proud, wearing her cap and gown, tears in her eyes as she hugged him. "I did it, Uncle Ethan. Just like you always believed I could." The crowd applauded, but Ethan only saw the little girl in the rain, the one who believed in kindness when the world didn't. "You've made me prouder than any business ever could," he whispered. As the sun set that evening, the three of them sat together once again, sharing stories and laughter. Sarah looked at Ethan and said softly, "That night in the rain, I thought we'd lost everything." Ethan smiled, looking at Lily. "No, that was the night everything began." The little girl rested her head on his shoulder and whispered the same words that started it all, "Don't cry, Mommy. Maybe that man will help us." And he had, more than either of them could have ever imagined.